Hey, it's Ramsey Dewey at the JX Fight Club. Welcome to another edition of Q&A with the Coach. Today we have a question from our friend Mr. Orangeade, which is an awesome screen name. I love it, man. He's got a question. Needs some help. He says, "Yo, Ramsey, or anyone really, I could do with some help. I've been training a year and a bit in Brazilian jiu-jitsu and wrestling, and I'm on the verge of quitting. When I trained, I started out once a week, then moved up to 3. College took over, and after trying to get back into post-semester, I just can't. Been dealing with depression for a while now, and it's finally gotten to that point where I'm just giving up on everything other than sleeping and working. I can't pretend that I'm super disciplined. I can't pretend that I'm a super disciplined student, and maybe I talked above my station without people understanding that a lot of that is my sense of humor. Hard to say if that's in my head or not, because I do think I'm humble when it matters. I don't really think I can talk to my coach about it, though not his fault. It's more just different personality types. All the internet memes say that BJJ is what keeps people sane and helps with mental health and all that, and yes, for a while that was working. But it's gone from feeling like not going, then being happy when I went in the end, to feeling like going, then regretting that I went at all while fighting the urge to leave the class in tears. It's been a year, and I just can't get anything to work, and I injure super quickly. I've gotten smashed by people on their first day. I can't break a guard. I get ankle picked by people not even trying, really. I'm the smallest guy there for my age. Even then, there's 15-year-olds bigger than me, and shockingly strong. Most women can beat me in arm wrestling, which isn't a very good indicator of strength, but still. And this is after a good amount of weight training, calisthenics and swimming, before BJJ. Getting the ego smashed is good, but when there's no ego, what's left is self-esteem. And when that is in the shitter, what the F after that? I just can't find any type of grit or fight in me anymore, assuming I've ever had any." All right, man, Mr. Orangeade. Sounds like you need some help, man. Well, thank you for that question, and thank you for your brutal honesty. I appreciate that. So, I can relate to some of your situation. I can relate to being the weakest, smallest, puniest guy in the room. I know I wasn't always this giant with these huge, gargantuan muscles I got today. Mwah. Had to work for that, man. No, I was an extremely skinny, weak kid. And yeah, I can relate to even, the smallest girls in the room were tougher than me and could arm wrestle me. Yeah, that was the case when I was younger. And when I finished high school, when I started college, I weighed 90 pounds. 90 pounds. What is that in metric? Hold on, let me calculate that in metric. 2.2 pounds per kilogram. So we got 90 divided by 2.2. I weighed 40.9 kilograms. 40 kilograms, almost 41. When I finished high school at a height of 6'1", that's about 185 centimeters tall. I looked like a skeleton. I was weak. And that is a big reason why I started martial arts. Because I was so weak. Well, when you have that disparity, it created in me, anyway, a desire to experience the opposite. A desire to experience strength of body, but also of mind and heart, and to develop confidence and all those important things. And most importantly, to fight off the bullies who were picking on me because I was a weakling. You got a unique situation in many ways. So you started college, you're an adult, I assume. And yeah, it can be very disheartening when 15-year-olds are tougher than you. In one of the last videos I made, I mentioned that a younger sibling of mine was able to deadlift an enormous amount of weight, approximately 400 pounds at the age of 15. And some people in the comments section said, "That's impossible. 15-year-olds can't lift that much weight." There are some beastly teenagers out there. And there are some wimpy teenagers too. Life is not fair. Life is not egalitarian, especially at the onset of puberty. Man, I feel like I finished going through puberty sometime in my mid-30s, man. As far as muscular development goes. Actually, I feel like I'm still not even there. Meanwhile, my younger brother Mark, for example, man, at age 15, age 16, this guy looked like one of those chiseled Roman statues. Guy had biceps popping out that, twice as big as what I have now. Had this gigantic chest, had chiseled abs. As a teenager, and I'm like, what? Shouldn't our genes be comparable? Don't we have mostly the same genetic material? Why does he get that and I'm stuck with being the skinny skeleton man? So yeah, every ounce of athleticism, every ounce of strength that I have, man, I had to work for the hard way. And it sounds like you have too. And it sounds like it is an uphill battle for you every step of the way. And that can be very depressing, especially if you're already dealing with depression. And depression, let's talk about that for a minute. There is no simple solution to depression. Telling you to cheer up, that's not going to help. Not really. I've dealt with depression. Depression is something that probably runs in my family. I mean, my mother has experienced depression. I remember as a child just feeling incredibly depressed, much more so than I do now. I think it was sometime around my mid-20s where at one point I was walking. I was walking across the university campus I was attending, and yeah, I attended university in my mid-20s. Got several degrees, went back to college more than once. So I was walking across the campus in my mid-20s, and the sun came out, and I remember something felt different. I remember like, I feel happy today. This is weird. This is different. What's going on here? This is such a strange, unfamiliar feeling. Because that wasn't normally the case. Life is like that. For the general population, I believe. As a child, I went about feeling robbed. Because I wasn't happy all the time. Like that moment, like that brief moment where I felt like, the sun's shining. I feel happy. Nothing's wrong in my life. What's wrong? Because it feels right. Because most of the time, life is normal. Most of the time, life is a bit of a grind. Most of the time, life is a struggle. It's an uphill battle. And once in a while, we get a little coast down the slide, but then we got to climb back up again. I had a student who was manic depressive. What do they call that now? Bipolar. A while back. This young woman who suffered from bipolar disorder, and she told me that training made her feel better. Now, you've been training for over a year now, and she only trained for about 6 months. But she said coming to the gym made her feel better. And I know exactly what memes you're talking about. Those memes that say, jiu-jitsu is my therapy. Jiu-jitsu is my antidepressant. And when you have a handle on things in jiu-jitsu, when you have some skills in jiu-jitsu, when you can impose your will in jiu-jitsu, it's liberating. When you can pass the other guy's guard and practice your new submissions and do some cool stuff, it's liberating, it's fun. But when you're the nail on the receiving end of the blunt force of the hammer, not so much. That struggle, it hurts. It's no fun. And when you lack the the physical attributes to impose your will, and man, you're the one whose will others are imposing theirs on. Man, it sucks. I feel you. I'm going to tell you straight up, it's going to take you longer than a year to get good at jiu-jitsu. Some people have a natural talent for it. Man, I'm kind of shocked actually. There are students I have who pick things up very quickly. Things that took me years to figure out, and they get on day one. I'm like, either you're a prodigy or I'm kind of stupid. I'm kind of slow. And I am. I'm a slow learner. I got to focus on the details. I got to run it over in my mind again and again and again. I got to rep it out day after day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. And the only reason I'm any good at any of this is because I stuck with it. And I get it. Some days, man, especially at the beginning, in that first year, in that first 2 years, in that first 3 years, I got beat down so much. Everybody I trained with when I started out was bigger than me. Everybody I started training with was stronger than me. Everybody was better than me. It seemed like they were up here and I was down somewhere below the crust of the earth as far as skill level goes. What made the difference, man? What made the difference? I had a coach, this guy who sought me out, this guy named Shane Brenner. I've mentioned him before, and he was a really good guy. And probably at the lowest of my lows, I was losing a bunch of fights. I was sucking. I was not doing very well, and I was pretty depressed about it. This guy sent me a message, sent me an email, and said, hey, come train with me. And I was intimidated. I was intimidated as hell because this guy was tough. This guy was good. This guy knew what he was doing. So come train with me. He had a basement gym set up. And, man, I went there wide-eyed, like, man, what's going to happen? He's going to murder me. I don't know what's going on here. And he comes out smiling, like, hey, come on in. And the dude was super cool. But, man, he put me through the reps, man. He put me through what I needed to experience. And sometimes you got to break it down into little baby steps before you can fight those 15-year-olds, man. I get it. Man, I remember once there was this young kid. He was only 14 years old. He wrestled in high school, some school in New York, kid named Finbar. Tough guy. And he came to my gym. He was staying in Shanghai for a while. And this guy he was good at wrestling. He was slick. He was fast. He was strong. He was athletic. And a lot of the older guys, the adults, they've been training for a while. They've been doing jiu-jitsu, MMA, boxing, all this stuff for a while. And Finbar, he comes in and he takes him down, out-wrestles him, passes their guard, squishes him, and he's not a big guy. He's a little guy. And he's just mauling some of these bigger guys who thought they were hot stuff for a while, and they get up and they're like, man, it's not fair. He knows how to wrestle, or what is this? And I look at them and I'm like, guys, this is what we're aspiring to. Learning how to wrestle, learning how to fight, learning how to win. And there's no shortcut. Man, improvement does not come from repetition to repetition. It comes from sleep to sleep. That is why it is so important to do it again and again, day after day. Remember, from sleep to sleep, day after day. And the grind can be tedious, but man, stick with it, and eventually you're going to have some aha moments. Something about this girl, the girl who dealt with bipolar disorder, manic depression. She would always roll with the biggest people in the class and get squished. And I didn't understand that. I would tell her, try picking on someone your own size. And she'd get really frustrated, like, I'm not winning. Everybody's squishing me. I'm like, well, because you're rolling with people twice your size. Settle down. Slow down, Turbo. Baby steps. She's like, but I should be that good right now. She's in a hurry to get stuff done, and so she didn't. Not right there, not right then. So that's probably not your problem, because like you said, you're being out arm wrestled by girls, and I understand that's not the best measure of strength, but it is a measure of strength. And man, to a man, that's a big blow to the ego. And as you mentioned, your ego is being beaten down so much that it's gotten to the point where it feels like your self-esteem is getting beaten down. Okay. Like you've experienced ego death. And you're worried about experiencing the death of your self-esteem. Well, I'm not there in person to do what my coach, my good friend, did for me. Pulled me out of obscurity. Said, hey, come train with me. Let me show you the ropes. Let me guide you every step of the way. So that was life-changing for me. And I wish I could do that for you. I wish I could say, hey, come on over here. Let me do what I can to help. Because I feel for you, man. I do. Because I've been you. Not exactly you, not exactly your unique circumstances. Everybody is their own book, man. But I've been there. At least somewhere like there. And it hurt, and it sucked, and I hated it. And as dumb as this sounds, it does get better. Because there will be those moments. There will be those moments where the sun comes out and suddenly you're going to feel happy for no reason at all. And you're going to be like, what is this weird feeling, man? I kind of like this. I don't get it, but I like it. And I want to feel more of it. You're going to have those moments where it goes from this uphill climb to that coasting down the hill. They're few and far between, but they are there. You're going to have some aha moments once in a while, like, oh, I get it. I don't necessarily have to break the guard open. What if I'm patient and I make some frames and let him open up his guard? So that happens a lot with the guard. Let's talk about that for a moment. People get really impatient because they're like, oh man, I can't open up his guard. His legs are super strong and nothing I'm doing works. And I feel like I'm doing exactly what the coach told me to do to open the guard, but it's not opening. Well, here's the thing. What happens when you push somebody? They push back. So you got a fairly new student and they believe that it is very important to keep their guard closed. It's not, but they think it is. Because they're in panic mode, and human instinct is to hold on tight to things. Why? Because it's self-comforting. It's giving yourself a hug. Why is it when people get into street fights, after they swing their arms, punch a little bit, maybe they get clipped, they go into panic mode, and they try to grab the other guy around the head and squeeze it? Because that's a good plan? No, it's a terrible plan most of the time. But why do they do it? Self-comforting. They want a hug in the middle of the fight, and that's exactly why beginners, they'll hold on to their guard, their closed guard, and keep those feet locked for dear life, and legs are strong in most people. Some people have enormously strong legs. Man, there's this girl from Austria in my class, and she doesn't look like she's super tough, but man, she's got legs of steel, thighs of steel. She could probably break ribs with those things if she had bad intentions from her guard. And if she does not want somebody to open up the guard, it's not going to open. So instead, what do? Be patient. Patience is a virtue. It's an important virtue in life, and it is a super important virtue in jiu-jitsu. You can fight like an alligator snapping turtle. What do? They sit at the bottom of the water. They don't go out like a normal snapping turtle and hunt the fish down and eat them up. They sit down there, they open their mouth, and they stick out their tongue, and they wiggle it, and it looks like a worm. And they just sit, and they wait, and they're patient. And what happens? Fish come and they mistake that tongue for a worm. Hum! As soon as they come to nibble on that tongue that looks like a worm, the alligator snapping turtle eats that fish. And it doesn't waste an ounce of energy. And that's very important to an alligator snapping turtle because they use that energy to grow. And those things can live for hundreds of years. And after 400 years, those things are huge. They are monsters. They are dinosaurs, man. Because they're patient. That's how they survive, and that is how they thrive. And so, when I first learned to pass the guard successfully, it had nothing to do with breaking it. Because I couldn't do it. I wasn't any good at that. My opposition was too strong. Their legs were too mighty. So what did I do? I waited, like the alligator snapping turtle. And I gave them just enough pressure to make them think, okay, now's my chance to attack. Because he's not being aggressive. He's not squishing me. I can open up. I feel safe now. I don't need this hug anymore. So they open up and they try to attack. They try a sweep or they try a submission. And what happens when you try a sweep or a submission? Your guard opens up. What happens when the guard opens up? It gets easier to pass. You can get that knee up in between so much easier. Yeah, you got to do some hand fighting. Yeah, you got to work on controlling your posture. But that's so much easier than breaking open the legs of a behemoth who is stronger than you. Patience. Every step of the way. Patience in the moment of the fight. Patience from day to day, from rep to rep, and from sleep to sleep, my friend. There are no easy answers, but once in a while, like I said, you will have that aha moment, and it will be game-changing a little bit. And then you might go on a while, maybe a day, maybe a week, maybe a year, maybe two, and you might have another aha moment that's going to change everything about your game, and then you'll keep going back and reinventing yourself, and then eventually, one day, people are going to start saying, man, you're so strong. And you're going to be like, no, I'm not. I'm the guy who got out arm wrestled by girls. I was the little 90-pound weakling when I finished high school and started college. I'm a little skeleton man. They're going to be like, no way. How do I get as good as you? How do I get as strong as you? And they're going to be asking you the questions. And it's going to blow your mind. It's going to blow your mind. And that day, you're going to be able to give something back. And then you're going to see the sun come out again, my friend. You're going to feel something right there you never felt before. Like, whoa. Whoa, is this what it is all about? And it's going to be glorious. Hang in there. I hope anything about this helped. Good luck, my friend. I believe in you. Thanks for watching. Now get out there and train.